Oh dear. Make sure that you guys can see my face. Perfect. Hmm. Oh. Hmm. Well, hi guys. I guess I might be a little early, huh? It's okay. Well, hi. I'm Tink, and I'm so excited to be here with you to make some very fun things. You know, I'm a tinker fairy, so I spend all day tinkering with everything I can, making things out of other things, or putting things together that should be together and making something amazing. So that's what we're going to do here today. You're going to make a few things that are quite amazing with me, and I'm going to show you how. So welcome to Tinker with Tinkerbell. That's me. I'm Tinkerbell. So we have our basket of magic, and we're going to start off with a very simple one. First things first, you're going to need some paper towels, because this one's going to get just a little messy. Well, actually, if I'm being completely honest, these are all going to be just a little messy. But that's okay. A little mess is a little fun. So you have your paper towel. Now what you're going to need for this one, all of our crafts today are going to use a jar. Now, I really like jars. I like things that hold other things. I find them extremely useful. But I also find that jars can do a lot. For instance, you can put things in jars and make other things, which is exactly what we're doing today. Now what else you're going to need is you're going to need glue. I have what you humans call Podge because it dries very nice and does a lot. So we're going to be using this with all of our crafts today as well. So we have our glue and our jar. Now the other thing you're going to need for this first one is food coloring. Because what we're going to do is I'm going to teach you how to stain a jar. We're going to make it look like stained glass. Have you ever seen stained glass? It's really pretty, but it's very hard to make, or so they want you to think. So, what we're going to do is you're going to take your glue and you're going to get about a tablespoon of glue. I have some already mixed here. But you'll have a tablespoon of glue, half a tablespoon of water, and a few drops of whatever color you want. I chose to do blue. So, woo! What's great about this is that if you're a little klutzy like me, this cleans up super easy and comes out of everything. So I made a mess. It's fine. So, once you have your glue, your water, and your color all mixed together, you're going to take your jar and you're going to set it with the opening down on the paper towel. The next thing you're going to need is a sponge brush, a little foam brush. So you'll take your mixture and you will start to paint the jar. It's okay if it's not perfect. Not everything needs to be perfect. But we're going to make sure that there's a nice, as even as possible covering on our jar. And I need all over it. Get the bottom and the sides. Now the cool thing with a stained glass jar that you can do is you can do a lot with it. Because the inside has been untouched by the glue, even if it did. We're using non-toxic here. But you can use this for so much. It can be a lantern. It can hold snacks. I love something that holds a good snack. It can hold flowers. It can be used as something to drink out of. It's really full of possibilities. Now you will get a little messy with this because you do have to set it back down. Or at least I have to. I had to make sure I could show you guys me painting it. Okay, so that's going to sit there for an hour. And once it's sat there for an hour, you're going to put it in the oven for another hour. And once you're done, once it has gone through the drying process and the baking process, it'll look like this. Isn't that cool? And now you have a blue jar. And you can do so many things with a blue jar. It's just a cool thing. So then, we're going to move on to our next one. Our next one, pretty easy. Again, you're going to need a jar. I'm just going to end up collecting all these lids, aren't I? Sorry, my wings are a little itchy today. So, jar, paintbrush, and glow-in-the-dark paint. This one's going to be really, really easy. So, you'll take your glow-in-the-dark paint. I have yellow, green, and blue. And you're going to have just a little bit of each. You will then take your paintbrush. It needs to be a long paintbrush because we're going to put a little bit on the end here. And we're going to put dots all inside the jar. You can go crazy with it. There is no correct amount of dots. What this will do will create kind of a glowy, sparkly effect inside, which I'm really excited about. I tried to get some of the other pixies here in Pixie Hollow to do this with me. They weren't near as interested. But that's okay, because you guys are here doing it with me, and I'm very happy to have you here. Beepity. You know, I have a lot of friends, and a lot of my friends are scared of the dark, which is completely understandable. There's a lot of scary stuff in the dark. But you know what's great? Is that a lot of the crafts that we're doing today together are really, really great for being in the dark. Since this is done with glow-in-the-dark paint, you'll be able to take this with you anywhere at night and it will glow. And I find that whenever something glows, it makes everything just a little less scary. That might be because I glow. Quite possible. Okay, we're going to do the green now. Again, there's no right or wrong amount of dots. You make it however you want. As long as you're happy. Now, I don't know about you, but I am a fairy. I'm very small. I can really only experience one emotion at a time. So I prefer for my emotion to stay happy. I get a lot more done when I'm happy. But I've also been told I have a little bit of a temper. I think that's ridiculous, if you ask me. So, I have a question. Who here has ever spent time with pirates? Everybody? That's great! I've also spent time with pirates. As it was mentioned before, I have a little bit of a temper, or so people say. And I got a little mad one day at Peter because he was very obsessed with a Wendy bird. Mother, they call her. I think that's silly. Nobody needs a mother. I didn't have a mother and I turned out fine. But I ran off to the pirates. I ran off to Captain Hook, which a lot of people make fun of me for that now. But honestly, I just wanted my Peter back. It's not fair. But if it wasn't for Zarina, Captain Hook wouldn't have gotten as powerful as he did. So really, there's a little bit of blame in all of us. And I think that's very important, is to take the blame when it comes. Responsibility is important. Remember that. Now we're going to use blue. Everybody says that this is Wendy Bird blue. I say, why can't we just call it sky blue and leave it at that? Oh, well, isn't that fun? It clogged. Got it? Oops. So now we're going to take our blue. We're going to do the exact same. Just making speckles. Making spots. You know what's one of the funniest things I've ever seen? Robin's eggs. They're blue. Tried to ask Fawn about why it is robin's eggs are blue, and she said she didn't know. She was always too busy hatching the eggs to ever wonder about why they were the color they were. I tried to ask the robins, but they seemed kind of scared of me. I get a little too excited. So I decided that I needed a reason as to why robin's eggs were blue. So I made up my own reason. And I made it up in the way of a story. And I'm going to tell you while we speckle our jar. So, once upon a time, in a time long before now, as these things often go, there was a lonely bird. This bird watched all the other birds have somebody, have a friend. But this bird was the only one of its kind. This bird had a red chest and dark feathers and didn't know what to do because nobody seemed to want to be this bird's friend. The bird flew around all day into the night trying to find somebody to be its friend. And as the night fell and the moon came up, the bird sat on a branch and looked up at the moon and into the stars. And it asked, "Oh, why can't I have any friends? Everybody else is having friends. They're even making their own." It was very clear that the robin didn't know what to do. And at this point, it didn't even know it was a robin. It just knew it was a bird. It didn't know where it came from. It just knew it existed. So the robin, well, at this point, the bird, asked the moon and the stars what they thought. The moon responded, "You're never really alone. There's always somebody." The bird replied, "Like you, the moon. You're always here, aren't you?" The moon replied, "Yes, I'm always here, even in the daytime." The bird didn't seem to think that this was true because the bird never saw the moon during the day. So the moon said, "If you do not believe me, I'll tell you what. Fly towards the sky tomorrow at noon, and I will prove to you that I am still here during the day." The bird agreed and went to sleep. The next day, the bird awoke. He was very excited. Sorry, she was very excited to go and find her friend, the moon. Because if what the moon said was true, then maybe the bird wouldn't be so alone after all. So, when it finally became noon, the bird flew up into the sky, directly up. And of course, there was the sun, but the bird didn't see its beloved friend. Because you see, the moon was luminous and white and noticeable. And in the sky, there was only the sun, the sky, and one big round thing. The bird didn't know what this round thing was. It kind of looked like an egg, honestly. What was an egg doing in the sky? Well, the bird flew towards the egg, wondering what it was, wondering what bird laid that egg. The bird wondered how anything laid an egg, because this bird didn't know at all. As it flew closer and closer, the bird began to feel a sense of familiarity. As it got closer and closer to the egg, it noticed the egg was smiling. It wasn't an egg at all. It was the moon. The moon truly was out during the day. Once the bird reached the moon, he was very surprised. It said, "Hey, you look so different." The moon smiled and said, "Yes, well, my time to shine is at night. The day goes to the sun." The bird looked around, and all it could see was the bright blue of the sky, taking up the lightness that was the moon. So the robin flew around and around and around and around, just enjoying being your friend. And then the bird went over to the moon and said, "I really like this color, this sky color. I just wish I had somebody of my own to share it with. Don't get me wrong, moon, you're great. But I wish I had my own person." And the moon said, "Why don't you make your own?" The moon promised to bestow some of its magic onto the bird and imbue it with something it truly loved, and it would automatically know how to make more of itself. The moon asked the bird to come close. The bird flew close. The moon gave it a kiss, and the bird felt magic coursing through it. The very next day, the bird woke up and discovered that it had laid an egg, but not just any egg, a sky blue egg. It was special, and it was the only one of its kind. And it knew that its kind would be the only kind that would be able to make this egg. And that is a story I made up about how robin's eggs are blue. I hope you all liked it. So, we got lots of speckles, right? Now what you're going to do with this is you're going to go and put it outside in the sun and leave it there for as long as you want, at minimum an hour. And then, whenever it's all done, it'll look like this. Now right now it doesn't look like much, but when you turn off the lights, it glows. I'm not able to turn off the lights right now. but that's okay. Now, on to the next craft. Again, you're going to need a jar. Jar. Of course, you're going to need your glue, and you're going to need another foam brush and pixie dust. Now, I have lots of different colors of pixie dust. I collected them from a lot of my friends, and I put them in their own little canisters. So we have blue, light, silver, and teal. So with this, first what you're going to do, you're going to take your brush. You're going to open up your glue. And you're going to coat the inside of the jar in glue. Yep. I have sparkles on my dress, and I couldn't tell if I had just dropped glue on myself or if it was one of my sparkles. Now you're going to want this to be an even coating, as best as you can. But it's okay if it's a little glob. Okay. And now for the fun part. So you're going to take your glue jar and you're going to pour in your glitters. There's no correct amount, just as much as you want. I'm going to add all 4 of my glitters because they're all so pretty. So, okay, so now we have all of our glitters into the jar. We're going to put the lid on, close it tight. We're going to give it a good shake. And now I'm going to use our blue jar to dump out the excess pixie dust or glitter, whichever you want to call it. Now I will tell you that pixie dust does in fact get everywhere. You'll be finding little bits of magic everywhere, forever. So keep this in mind. But now you have this pretty sparkly jar. This is the one I made earlier. And you can take a little candle. It can be a real one or a fake one. And you pop it in. And you have fairy lanterns. So there is one more craft, which will take me just a minute to get ready because I forgot to fill one with water. So what you'll need for this next one is fun. I call this the sea foam jar. It's really fun. So you're gonna need a jar, of course, and then the glue that we used earlier to help us stain our glass. We're gonna use a little bit of that, some water, glitter, some regular bits of glue, and a couple of miscellaneous objects. I'm going to use leaves. Now, I'm going to need you to wait right here because I have to go put some water in this. I'll be right back. And I'm back. Okay, so we have our water. What we're going to do now, we're going to take a little bit of the glue that we have here, our blue glue, just add a few drops. Then we're going to take a bit of our regular glue. Just grab one of your sponge brushes. I'm going to drizzle that in there. Okay, now we're going to add some of our glitter. If you have different kinds of glitter, like varying forms of chunky and not chunky, finer, I recommend for this is what a lot of people call a sensory jar. So what I recommend is that you use the chunkier glitter as it floats better. But if you add some fine glitter to it, it makes kind of a bubbly sensation. So that's just something to keep in mind. So now take one of our lids. I got some glue on the outside of my jar, which is fun. I almost forgot. My leaves. So the reason we're adding leaves is to just add a little bit more of something to swirl around. So add a little, give it a little shake. And voila! You now have what I like to call magic sea foam. It's fun to just shake up and watch. It's real pretty. Let me look at the time. We still have 30 minutes left in this live stream. And I went through these tinkerings really, really fast. But that's okay. So, I suppose I'll just do a quick review. So, did our stained glass. Remember, this needs to sit out to dry for an hour, and then you put it in the oven at 225 for an hour after that, and then you'll have stained glass. With your glow-in-the-dark jar, make sure you set this out for at least an hour in the sun to charge it, otherwise it won't glow. With our glitter lanterns, these will get glitter everywhere, so please make sure you do this over a hard surface or over in the kitchen where there's a hard floor and it's easy to sweep up. And then with our sea foam, this can get a little wet if you do not properly close the top. Now what's great is that you're able to decorate these however you want afterwards. So if you really wanted to, we could take some of this glue and paint the top of our lid on our seafoam jar. And then we can take some of our excess pixie dust, just a little bit, and add it to the top of our jar, making it just a little more magical. Now again, this will get messy, and you will get glue on your hands. But you know, some of the best things happen whenever you're able to get a little messy. I think that just about covers everything. Thank you for joining me for this DIY session. I really enjoyed having you here with me. And you know, being a tinker is never a bore. Make sure you guys come back and see us soon, okay? I'll talk to you later. May magic always follow you.